5:30 a.m. I'm fast as 5:30 a.m. Alarm goes off and I get up well rested and ready to start my day. I run on the treadmill for 45 minutes. One tick on my to-do list is already done. Then I shower, get dressed, and sit down to do some work before school starts. All this finished by 7 a.m. At least, that's what I plan to do. 5:30 a.m., the alarm goes off, but I pound on the snooze button not once, not twice, but 3 times before I finally switch it off. I drag myself out of bed by 6:45 a.m., around the time I should have been done most of my tasks. The difference between these two scenarios? The snooze button. Pressing the snooze button is one of the worst things you can do in life. It seems amazing at first, but then all of a sudden, that dream you've been chasing is 5 miles ahead and you're left eating the dust. But how do you motivate yourself to not press that snooze button? How do you push past that need for instant gratification? How do you get to that dream you've made for yourself, and what can you do to make reaching your goal that much easier? Well, I'll be honest, there is no 100% guaranteed formula to making a goal that is feasible, pushes you, and motivates you to complete it. But by considering our emotions when making these goals, we can bridge the gap between the person we are today and the person we want to be in the future. Now, I know what you're thinking. Great, another person telling me how to live my life. But that's not what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you to strip back all the bells and whistles and get to the root of what you actually want. So you can make a goal that it pushes you and motivates you to complete it, even if you are prone to straying off track. For example, as I'm sure you're aware, there are different versions of ourselves throughout the day. 5:30 p.m. Kavya values working hard and pushing herself. 5:30 a.m. Kavya, on the other hand, values one thing and one thing alone: sleep. So by identifying the different versions of ourselves throughout the day, we can figure out which ones can help us reach our goal. Now, let me ask you a few questions. Think of a goal you've always had but never quite got around to doing. What does completing that goal look like to you? Did you want to socialize more or less? Maybe you wanted to put more time into a hobby. Or you just wanted to get fitter. The key is to figure out what your actual goal is. Now, an actual goal is the bare essentials of your original goal. If you're currently at point A, then your actual goal would be point B. It doesn't include the pathway between those 2 points. Let's say you had a goal where you wanted to dance for 1 hour every day. If you find yourself procrastinating that, maybe take a step back. Your actual goal could be to just improve in dance. So consider changing your plan. You don't have to dance for 1 hour every day to get better at dance. If working out with friends motivates you, you could set certain days of the week where you dance with friends instead. The point is, now you're reaching your actual goal, improving in dance, rather than procrastinating dancing for 1 hour every day. When I chose to wake up at 5:30 a.m., it wasn't really about getting up early. It was about finding a time of day where I could be healthy and exercise. I just thought the only way to do that was to get up early. But why was that the case? Why was my first thought that I needed to wake up early and exercise? Why not at a time more convenient for me? Well, these expectations we have for ourselves come from movies, celebrities, or even ordinary people. From Victoria's Secret model diets to Chris Pratt's body transformation, there are unrealistic goals all around us. We forget that just because somebody else has done it doesn't mean that goal is good for us or even feasible. Celebrities have teams of people motivating them to be better, to do better. You just have, well, you. You may have the same number of hours in a day as Beyoncé, but you don't have her managers, personal assistants, chefs, personal trainers, or housekeepers. So don't be too hard on yourself. If you make goals too unrealistic, instead of looking like Thor, you may end up looking like Thor. So let go of all your preconceptions of what completing your goal should look like. We're all different, unique individuals, and what works for one person may not work for another, and that's okay. The problem, however, is that we forget one very important thing when making these goals and the follow-through of these goals: our emotions. We forget that the leading reason for us to not do something is because I don't feel like it. And when we don't feel like doing something, we end up finding any excuse that allows us to get away with not completing our goals. I'll do it Monday, next week, for sure. I have more important things to do today. I have too many things on my schedule. Sound familiar? It's important to find when we're feeling our best, because when we're upset, we feel sluggish. When we're tired, all we want to do is rest. But when we're excited, it's like an endless pit of energy and productivity, and that makes all the difference. But instead of just waiting for a certain time of day or day of the week when we feel less tired, we could try making ourselves feel more motivated. One way to do this is by making goals or even just completing them with family or friends. According to the University of Pennsylvania and the University of Oxford, working out in a group of people can motivate you to push yourself. This happens for a variety of reasons. The first one is that the social positive reinforcement of being in a group makes you want to not disappoint everyone else in that group. You don't want to be the weakest link, so you work harder. The second reason is that being in a group fosters competition, and you may feel a need to beat other people in your group. Now, it doesn't really matter why it happens, but understanding that our emotions do have a big impact on how likely we are to complete our goals can help us make a plan that pushes us to complete our goals. If you plan to do something when you know you'll feel demotivated and tired, you're setting yourself up for failure. Making that perfect plan to reach your actual goal won't be easy. It'll take trial and error, figuring out what times of the day or days of the week we feel best. But by incorporating our emotions when making plans to reach our goal, we can truly plan for success. Now, that's not to say make easier goals, but when we make plans to reach our goal, we need to tailor it to ourselves. Now, what do I mean by easier goals? Let's say you can do 1 push-up, and you've decided that at the end of the month, you want to do 2 push-ups. Well, I hate to break it to you, but looking at your starting point, your abilities, your ending point, and the sheer amount of time you've given yourself to complete this goal, it's way too easy. In fact, this goal may be so easy that by the end of the month, you haven't even taken a step towards your goal. You kept thinking, I can do it later, or it doesn't require a lot of effort, and so you didn't put in that effort. And even if you did, you didn't push yourself very hard. You went easy on yourself. Goals are supposed to push you, not be light reminders. So when making any goal, it is extremely important to make sure that you are not going too easy on yourself. You want to reach new heights, not stay on a plateau. On the other side of this spectrum, however, there are unrealistic goals. Unrealistic goals work much in the same way as easy goals, meaning they don't work either. Unrealistic goals push you too hard and too fast, and they end up leaving you frustrated when you can't complete your goal. For example, I'm not a very social person. I go to school, hang out with my friends, and that's about it. But one day in a semi-delusional state, I decided I was going to talk to 10 people every day. I quickly found out that talking to the same group of friends did not count, and a week later, I realized what a silly goal it was. I didn't want to talk to one person, let alone 10. Now, maybe if I had started off talking to 2 people every day, I could have made my way up to 10. But starting off at that insanely high number quickly tired me out and made me feel like I could never accomplish this goal. So making sure to not overwhelm yourself is just as important as not making easy goals. You may not live the life you thought you would need to in order to get to this goal, but life takes surprising turns, and as long as you get there, it doesn't really matter how different your plan is from your original plan. Bridging the gap between the person you are today and the person you want to be in the future is not as hard as it seems. Yes, it does take hard work and effort, but all you have to do is understand your true motivation, your emotions, your strengths, and your weaknesses, and you can complete a goal you never thought you would be able to. 5:30 a.m., I'm fast asleep in bed. The alarm goes off at 6:20, and I shower, get dressed, and get ready to start my day. School starts, and then it ends, and at exactly 3:15 p.m., I start my daily run, feeling not just happy, but proud because I'm finally going for a run. I've completed my goal after months of not feeling motivated enough. So before making any goal, ask yourself, what is your true motivation, and how can you plan for success? Thank you.